from their encounters with races from other planets. The information is the activation. Let's awaken this world together. We are the forever students, and we will not be silent. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. It's pretty wild. Welcome, everybody, to Full Spectrum Universe. My name is Rob Yox. We are the embattled broadcast from behind enemy lines in the once great state of New York. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is so great to be back here at the helm. Long day of work, as you can tell by the hat. Didn't have time to do my hair. I finished the shift, jumped right into the seat to get into the Andromedans. We are going to go to the wall tonight. We're going to take it to task. We're going to be talking about how they interacted with the peoples of Earth. We're going to be talking about the culture, the society. We're going to give you some pictures via a presentation, and it's all pretty wild, right? It's wild. So one of the things, as you can see, is we're entering into the fall season, and I have my hoodies on. I am a hoodie kind of guy, and I just love them. I love to be able to put my hood up when it gets cold. My ears get cold, so, the array of hoodies is coming out. Very, very excited for that. Fall and spring are my two favorite seasons. I don't like it too hot or too cold. I'm kind of, I guess I don't like the extremes. I'm kind of a middle kind of guy. So, but tonight's going to be a lot of fun. We have a lot to talk about. We're going to be getting into things first. Before we start, as always, we have some interviews that we are setting up. I'm going to be pre-recording the interviews so I can have videos for when I have to work late at night and basically get things done, because, of course, we're also working on our website, and it's costing quite a bit of money because it's going to be something the likes of which you've never seen before. At first, it will be just like everybody else's, but there are some things in the background that we're working on to make it stand out and make it a bit different. It's going to be absolutely incredible. It's going to be really wild when we get to see the fruition of this work come to bear. And, I was just outside before the broadcast. I always go outside, get a little bit of fresh air. And I've told everybody here about my encounters with what looks like a star traveling across the sky, and sometimes you see a light. And it's funny because right as I was outside just now, there was one of those stars moving, and there was planes going in every direction as well, which is not usual for my area. But it was just I caught it. I had my earphones in. I was listening to a little bit of music, and all of a sudden there it is. Almost as if to say, man, just keep going, bro. We're watching. We're watching. So for the off-world entities that are watching right now, it's wild that you came to my house. It's wild that you contacted me. There's also been some really crazy things happening while being at work, which we can discuss in a uncensored video. I'm not going to put them out here because of, the public and kind of going into those things can be a very bad situation for me, but it has a lot to do with different entities that essentially are in control of the political systems right now. And I feel like they might be watching. I think they might be watching. And it's, I'll tell you what, when I first saw it, I thought it was just me. I spoke to somebody else and kind of confirmed it. It's something. And when we get to the bottom of it, we'll let you know. But so to the Andromedans, before we get started, again, share this out. It is our civic and moral duty as people who are chasing ascension and attaining ascension to inform others on information that is vital to their existence and vital to their collaboration with entities off-world. So make sure that you're please sharing this out on all platforms. That's all I ask. Give it a watch, maybe two if you have to. And we need to share, because this is information that awakens people. When people get this information and they start to hear about these entities and how similar they are to what we know as humanity, it creates this spark. And this spark leads them to either research or create connections to those off-world entities. So please share this out. Anyway, let's get into the fun, right? The Andromedans. Enough about seeing my mug up there. Let's get to the slides. So, first and foremost, we're going to talk about the Andromeda Galaxy. Now, we're not going to go in depth into the Andromeda Galaxy, but this is their place of origin of civilization, not their place of origin of species. We have to make that differential because this is where their civilization started. These Andromedans are descendants of the original Lyrans, like we talk about all the time, right? So when we're talking about the Andromedans, they have a very, very advanced culture. During the initial Lyran Draco Galactic War, the Lyrans, of course, took to the Ark ships. I know we say this every episode, but it's important because all of these entities came from Lyra, right? And then they eventually evolved into something different. And when they evolved into something different, they lost their connection to Lyra. But then again, when they got to the Galactic Federation or the Galactic Councils that happened, and they met their ancestors, they were able to make those connections again. So they descended from Lyra as a species. Their culture was from the Andromedan galaxy. Now, usually we go over the different, the different types of planets that are in there, but we're not going to do that this time. I think there's a lot more information to talk about the actual Andromedans, especially with people like Alex Collier out there giving incredible information. We're going to touch on his info tonight and go over a little bit of it and some of the information that he's brought to bear. So let's keep the momentum flowing. They exist on a 3D to 12D spectrum. And this is the reason why we say this is because the Andromedans are not just one specific race. There are multiple races that reside within the Andromedan galaxy. And like I said, we're not going to be homing in on just one race. We're going to be talking about the civilizations that reside close to each other as a whole because it gives us a more in-depth understanding of who and what these people are. So from 3D to 12D, and that is a tremendous range. We're going to talk a little bit about the appearances of them, right? And we're going to dive into that right now. And there's many types of Andromedans, just as there are many types of beings in our Milky Way galaxy. Three types of Andromedans, I have to say it right, have telepathically contacted people here on Earth. One is a race from the 4D, 5D humans that have similar features to ours, and they are seen as bald most of the time, right? Some of them have elongated cone-shaped heads, and there's also another race that is of 3 to 4D or 4D. They're 3 to 4 feet tall, and they're blue-skinned humanoids, also bald. Then there is another master race that's 7 to 9 feet, and they're winged humanoids that exist in a higher dimension. They have they have their origins in something different, something more angelic, right? Once their civilization reached a certain pinnacle, they were able to evolve out of the state of physical and into something different, right? So as we see, there are so many different types of beings that reside there. Now, even if we're talking about our own planet, and I'm going to bring it back to me for a second, even if we're talking about our own planet, there might be entities here that reside within the non physical, but our visual cortex or our visual spectrum doesn't pick them up, right? This is what we talk about when we talk about paranormal encounters. These entities are no longer of the physical, yet we're still able to communicate, contact, and sometimes even see them, right? If you're talking in the paranormal world, a full body apparition is one of the, I guess, one of the most rarest occurrences that happens, right? So, and it's crazy because just like Ali said here, I've seen loads on cameras. I was just about to say that that's one of the ways that we capture them because the flash happens in such the shutter rate in the flash happens so fast that our actual eyes can't see it, but the camera catches it, right? Or the essence of something. So let's get back to the slides. So we see that now, right? And how incredible these entities are. So there's involvement with Earth, and this is going to be kind of a consistent theme throughout all of this conversation, because I believe that all of these entities and how they focus to Earth, it's to me, that's one of the wildest things to think about, that all of these extraterrestrial races have all of these different abilities, they have all this different technology, yet they still are fascinated with coming to Earth, which shows you some of the things we talked about being the center of the galaxy, right? We're kind of the center. And that's not to say it in a conceited way, that's saying it in a way that's, there's something about our genetics, there's something about the genetical codes that are on this planet that interests all of these different types of extraterrestrial races to come here and mingle or interact with humanity. That is a truly astonishing thing to think about, the magnitude of what that means, right? So the winged beings have been involved with Earth since the first life forms with humans at various stages of development. It may be that the Sumerian winged beings depicted on their relics or on their their tapestries are Andromedans. They say that they've been invited by the guardian archangels of Earth to participate in our progression. And this is what the Andromedans say, right? And that they came to our solar system on the wings of the archangels, who are the gatekeepers to Earth. And perhaps the depictions of archangels are actually images of the winged Andromedans coming as they came into our world and were thought to be angels themselves. And this explains a little bit of what we see in the Bible. This and the crazy part about talking about the Andromedans is that they look very, very similar to us, some of them. So, with that being said, if they were to come down with wings, how would we depict it? What would you think it would be? You would say that's an angel, especially since our programming tells us that winged humanoids are angelic by nature, right? But they may not be the case always. There's also, entities that reside in the service to self lane of things that are winged as well. So I guess it would depend on the wings. A couple of factors that might change the way that you think about that. But so the Andromedan galaxy is next door to us. It's not that far away. Now, the Andromedans themselves are very creative. They're analytical. They're proficient with tone and sound. And the Andromedan consciousness is abstract. It's ever changing and fluid. And it teaches us to be a bit more grounded and centered, believe it or not, and to work with a new paradigm. And that's the internal focus. In contrast to what the Milky Way consciousness is, and that's the external focus, right? We're, we fantasize about the, it's not the right word, I don't think. Um, we fan, we're morally obligated to watch the external. That's what I mean by that. And we're morally obligated to experience. But those experiences mostly come from external, unless you're in the ascension process. Then a lot of those instances come from the internal, right? We come from the internal. And this is the transition. I think this is where we're kind of going into this. And the Andromedans themselves are so involved in the ascension process that this is why the people who are ascending to that higher frequency kind of relate to the Andromedans. And that's also why they've been contacting a lot more people on Earth to give their instance on this ascension, because they've done it themselves. Some of them have even discarded their physical and become etherical in nature, right? And if you're residing in the 12D, you're now losing that individualistic aspect of yourself and becoming part of a collective. And that's even like not a hive mind, but a group thinking of universal consciousness or galactical consciousness. It's like right now we're residing on a few different grids on Earth, right? We have our internal consciousness, our external consciousness, and then the Earth consciousness or the collective consciousness, as we call it. Now imagine we start to upgrade and attune to the universal consciousness, and then to the cosmic consciousness, and then the galactical consciousness. It goes up in stages. That's why ascension is never over. And every time you adjust to a different level, it's just a beginning, right? There's more to go, always more to go. And until we hit that 12D, I'm not sure if we can hit the 13th dimension. That might be the one creator of all that is, or source itself, right? So I don't know if we're able to ascend there. I would hope so, but it is what it is. So I think I've fell behind in the slides a little bit, but so this is why I think that this is awesome. And there's also something called the Antares. And the Antares is essentially a wormhole from our universe or our portion of the galaxy to the Andromedan galaxy. And this is highway. They go back and forth on the Antares, right? So there's a lot of beings that reside on Andromeda that are in 7, 8, and 9D, and they were humanoid at one point. And this is where the group thinkers come into play. These entities watch over a lot of the Andromedan system and essentially help that civilization still flourish, and take the entities that aren't residing at that density and giving them ability, teaching them almost as an ascended master would, to reach their ascension, right? So there's a lot of sentient service to other beings that occupy the livable planets in the Andromedan system. And in the Andromedan sector, there's even one called Aeon, right? And Aeon resides from 4D to 5D. And the entities that reside there are also humanoid. They look like us. They're bald, but they're not the ones with the wings just yet, right? They're also known, and their sentience is known for perfecting co-creation for peaceful running of planets and star bases. This is where we're trying to atone and obtain this quality with co-creation and running a peaceful planet while not mongering in the fear of war and such things as that's going on right now. It becomes ever so present that it's very difficult for us to all get there, not just some of us. Some of us are getting there, but some of us are falling behind the eight ball, which is another reason why it's important to share this information out. We have to wake up as many people as we possibly can. It's absolutely imperative. So now, this is again one of the etherical beings that I was talking about. Once you reach 6D, your physical is gone, baby. That's it. Even 5D, you'll fade in and out of the physical aspects of your body. So this is an artist's rendition of what they saw of a seventh and eighth and ninth dimensional Andromedan, right? That's pretty wild. So I wanted to go over some of the traits that these entities, I don't know if they live by them, but majority of them sort of stay within this realm, right? They love freedom, and they love the real freedom that comes from within, right? They love to develop self confidence. They realize their desire to become teachers and healers. This also goes for the star seeds as well. This isn't just the Andromedans themselves, this is also the Andromedan star seeds. They like to experience everything in and around many realities. They don't like the routine, they like excitement and within activity, right? They love adventurous travel. They're somewhat critical of themselves regarding others and how they interact with others, and they have very good communication skills. There may be something inside of them and showing up something else to the outside world, and that's what they mean by communication. So when they're telepathic, it's a bit of a different scenario. When you're telepathic, you don't have those issues with people lying or your motives are clear, right? And they have this tremendous capability to restore, right? And restoring more so to civilizations, their re-evolution to where they were descending from the Lyrans, right? We all know what we descended from Lyra, so the human species that resides across many different stars and many different galaxies was essentially part of an ascended collective. But eventually, with between war and de-evolution, shall we say, is a good way to put it, we've especially and our planet is like the microcosm to the macro out there. Because came into this contact with the Dracos and they had this tremendous war, they kind of they didn't fall from grace, but they descended a bit in a way to defend themselves or to get away from what was happening. But then they made their civilizations out amongst the stars and they reascended or like they were the re-evolution is what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry that I'm stumbling over my speech tonight, but you know, things happen. So now there's a great force of entities, and it's coming from the Andromedan galaxy. And their craft have the ability for hyper light speed, right? And they can get here in only a matter of moments. And then they could be in an entirely different star system, you know, moments later. And I think that this has a lot to do with them being able to touch so many societies in so many different places. They're out there as a collective trying to help societies. So we're going to talk a little bit about not so much their physical appearance, but kind of who they are, right? What people see of them, I think is a good way to put it. So these entities are very beautiful. They are lilithly built and very thin. This race is so spiritually evolved that they no longer require a physical body. They are almost beings of light energy. They are illuminated in the light. They are very tall and stand 8 to 10 feet tall in height. And of course, in mythology, they were referred to as the winged gods. Their biological system is based entirely different, off different genetics than our system, right? These entities display an embodiment that is magnetized in light. They do not eat, they gain knowledge, and they live off of what is an Andromedan word called prona. They live off prona, which is the ancient term meaning truth. They live off the truth or for the truth. They're so beautiful that it is beyond description. And mankind shadows fragments of that beauty, right? They have taken care of humanity because they consider us their brothers and sisters, and they believe that we all came from the same source and that we are all created within that light. Then there is a common bond between us. So we're seeing that there's more to us residing with their brother and sisterage or their tutelage that is coming to bear and coming to light. Now, they have a tremendous mothership. It's called the Great Mothership. It's not its name, but that's what they look at it as. And at night, it is invisible because of the metal that it's made out of. It almost looks black if you catch a glimpse of it. If it were to light up, it would be the sun illuminating by 10,000 times. It's in our stratosphere as we speak. It moves quietly and stealthily, and our government is aware of its presence, and it is ominous to them. The ship itself is called the Mioria Amor. It means the silver light. This ship has warriors that would defy imagination, It can blast a continent to the bottom of the sea. It can rotate our planet and send it spinning out into orbit. The ship is here because of this disease on this planet. It is here because of the collapse of consciousness of civilization. It's also here because of the changes that are occurring in the here and now. It's also another force that is engaged on this planet. These beings have inspired the prophets of this planet in the past to do wonderful things and preserve the seeds of humanity. Its truth and its words have been misused, misconstrued, and taken by powerful men to enslave the people. And it has been allowed, but these entities are back now for truth. That's the important part, right? This is something we have to look at. They see the plight of what we're going through, and they are looking to us to help ourselves, but they're also looking to us to give us hope and help. And any type of these extraterrestrial races come down here and have contact, it shows hope. It shows hope because we can ascend to that level, whether it be technology and or spirituality. I would hope it would be the latter, not the first. I would hope the spirituality would get us there. So most of the people who have had contact with the Andromedans have come back with a tremendous wealth of knowledge because they are inherent teachers. And while we talked about the warriors on that ship or the fact that they could blast this continent to smithereens, they would never do that, right? They are not those types of people. Most of their technology is based in defense. It's based in the proposition of building, not destroying. While they can defend themselves, they don't ever walk that side of the light. Now, there are groups that reside on the other side of what we know, and there are service to others. All entities have factions of that. So we can't, give them the clean slate of to the light. We can't do that. That would be intellectually disingenuous. So we're not going to do that. Those factions that are not of the light have worked very closely with the Draco and the Greys, and they do reside within the Andromedan galaxy. But the Andromedans don't want to destroy them; they let them be because they believe that their karmic debt will eventually destroy itself. They will be like the Atlantis. The, their hubris will be their downfall, right? So that's what we're seeing when we talk about these things. So as we keep going, there's something that we're going to talk about in just a moment called the Andromedan Council. Now, this council is one of the bigger known councils in the galaxy, or in all of the galaxies, really, in the whole universe. A lot of these areas, like Andromeda, the Taurus constellation, they have councils because these spacefaring races have multiple contacts of different on different planets within that system. So they work as a system as a whole, or a galaxy as a whole, as opposed to individually. They become these, not I don't want to say formations of government, but these formations of allies that are helping each other, right? So the next little bit we're going to talk about is information that has been channeled through an Andromeda to talk about this council. And it's hard to find anybody who's not channeling to get some of this information. What I just talked to you about before was given to others via contact, not so much channeling. They were taken off world. So now we're getting into the channeled aspects. And this is what they said. They said, "We are here to let you know that your planet Earth slash Terra and all the people who choose to embrace are about to go through great changes, an important stage of growth, a change in vibration called elevation, a new consciousness superior, a new existence. For the first time in history of your planet, it's about evolution. It's about a cleaning. It's about a rebirth. Some call it ascension, and more accurately, it's a transformation. It is by any other name, really, a new beginning. So we're going to keep going in a second. I mean, that's powerful stuff. We know this to be true. So this is confirmation from entities off world. This information is from years ago. We're talking decades ago, not now, but decades ago. Back to the quote of this entity. Although the process has begun to a certain extent, the Earth is about to transform itself into a vibratory frequency, and from its current existence as a third dimensional solid matter towards the fourth dimension slash density of reality. The vibratory rate at a frequency faster than at present in the Earth. And since the solar system of the Earth and the planet the Earth is about to cross to the I'm going to say this right, equ- equatorial zone of the galactic plane of the Milky Way. So now this is a lot of information from what we know is happening right now, right? But this is, like I said, the fact that it's from decades ago shows that there is a plan of action or it's not a coincidence that this is happening. There's this place within the equatorial zones of the quantum universe that we're passing over through, which is also initiating some of us awakening, right? With the solar flash and now this is where we're starting to garner magnitude who's essentially going to help us to evolve genetically, spiritually, consciously. So we're getting to this point. This is, you know, this is what we've been talking about. And I can't harp on that enough that we're so close to this precipice right now. And myself, Stephen and Evan Strong, Omar, and a few others have talked about this winter solstice. While we may be right or wrong, we don't know yet, but there's going to be that great divide. Lower density goes one way, or lower vibratory people go one way, the higher vibratory people go the other way. This could be what they're kind of talking about. It's a Hopi prophecy, but that could have been given to the Hopi by the entities that resided on the entire planet beforehand. And now the Andromedans are corroborating that information. So we're seeing a lot of stuff kind of coming together here. And to me, I think it's really wild that we can look to our past to see what's going to happen in our future. And that's why we say history repeats itself. To know the cyclistic nature of history is to be able to predict the future. We see that. We know that. So the next section, a little bit, is what Alex Collier talks about. And this is where things get absolutely incredible. So those ETs from Andromeda are also described by our Collier as having direct descendants of the Lyrans, who experienced some of the difficulties when first leaving Lyra due to the system of predatory extraterrestrial races out there. But eventually they settled in the Andromedan constellation, and the star there is called the Zenete. Collier describes the nature of the Andromedans as follows. Everything that they create technologically is used for the advancement of their race. It is for educational purposes only, but it can be used in defense. No, they do not have a military per se. They are scientists. What they do is they send their children to school anywhere from 150 to 200 years in our linear time. They teach their students all of the arts and sciences. They're literally masters of everything. Then, at the point that they have a choice in what it is that they want to do, they can change their minds at any times or do something else. So they're given all of the tools. Everything is for education, nothing is for distraction. They would never conceive of creating television as a distraction. Never. Everything is to them to evolve. And their science and their technology can be used for defensive purposes, and mostly it's in the holographic nature. The most significant feature of the Andromedans is that they are instrumental in the Andromedan Council, which is a grouping of approximately 140 star systems who deliberate upon Earth. And in 1997, an interview, Collier described the Council's deliberations as follows. Now in our galaxies, there are many councils. I don't know everything about those councils, but I do know about the Andromedan Council, which is a group of beings from 139 different star systems that come together and discuss what's going on in the galaxy. It is not a political body. What they have been recently discussing is the tyranny in our future, 357 years from now, because that affects everybody. Apparently, what they have done through time travel is that they have been able to figure out where the significant shift in energy occurred that causes the tyranny 357 years in our future. They traced it back to our solar system, and they may be able to further track it down to Earth, Earth's moon, and Mars. Those three places. The very first meeting the Andromedan Council had was to decide whether or not to directly intervene with what was going on here. Now, there is the entity's name is Morane. So, according to Morane, there were only 78 systems that met this first time. Of those 78, just short of half decided that they wanted nothing to do with us at all, regardless of the problems. I think it is really important that you know why they wanted nothing to do with us. We're talking about star systems that are hundreds of millions of light years away from us, even some who have never met us. They just knew the vibration of the planet reflected on those of the planet, right? They they knew that. The reasons why they wanted nothing to do with us is that from their perspective, Earth humans don't respect themselves, each other on the planet. What possible what possibly can be the value of Earth's humans? Unfortunately, or fortunately, the majority of the council gave the opinion that Earth has been manipulated for over 5,700 years and that we deserve an opportunity to prove ourselves, to at least have a short or a shot at proving the other parts of the council wrong. So now we're seeing that there is information that this council was given and they were making determinations off of that. So they're basically seeing our vibration, not the people's themselves, and saying, we want nothing to do with that. Now, I'm going to bring it back to me for a second, and I'm going to ask you this question. And this is part of our moving into a place of positivity and of the light. How many people have you come in contact with or have seen out and about on the street and you sort of didn't like their vibratory feel and you stayed away? And you stayed away from them, or you walked in the other direction. You kind of snuffed at them and was like, "Nah, no, I'm gonna go." I've done it. I've done it. I used to do it. Now I engage those people. I engage them because I want them to know that there are others out there who are essentially not afraid to approach others that they don't know, speak to them, but also to kind of give them a jolt to see if they wake up out of that negative space and see if they can help raise their vibration even indirectly, right? And you can sense it. You get a pit in your stomach when you see those people across the street and they're not vibing at the same level as you are, and you see that there's something kind of off. Your gut tells you you should probably go do something. Now, a lot of times dismiss that. No, 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 I don't want to. No, but that's crazy. And that's a program. That's a program that your gut's telling you, hey, man, you know what? Let's not. So it's we have to get out of those programs. Shedding those programs is one of the biggest things, right? And we have to engage those low vibratory people because let's just say you come in contact and your essences are sort of near each other, and I don't want to say that they're going to siphon off of you, but they match your vibrational resonance, right? And now the rest of their day is spent at that vibration, and maybe you're giving them the tool that they need to keep resonating at that level and keep moving at that vibration. And then that's like almost like the pay it forward thing. Omar talks about it all the time. Go and pay it forward for somebody else. And that's what you're doing, but in a spiritual way, not in a monetary way, you know? So it's just a thought, just a thought. I do it too. It's not like I'm perfect and I don't do these things, but I do it too. And I have to retrain myself to not do that. Especially being from New York. I mean, if I go to this city and something's like that, I mean, it could be a dangerous situation, If I try and go up and say, "What's up, man? You all right? Like, what's going on?" It could get pretty wild, but that's again what my programming sounds like. And I have to be able to see past that and see what the positive aspect of me interfering with that person or running into that person and saying, "Hey, man, you good? What's up? Talk to me." That may be what they need to release that negative. So, just a thought. We're going to get back a little bit into what we're talking about here. So, back on track. So, I've also used other people's contact, and another person who has had contact is Sean David Morton. And Sean David Morton is a contactee of the Andromedans. And he mentions an Andromedan by the name of Adrian, who was extensively interviewed by he basically Sean David Morton interviewed somebody. He had also had contact, but he interviewed somebody else by the name of Adrian who had extreme contact with the Andromedans and found that she was credible. Or he, I don't even know what it was, but he or she, but the person was credible. And Adrian's testimony was supported by extensive photos, film, and witness testimony. And according to Adrian, the Andromedans play an important role in forming councils that deliberate again of Earth's future and independently confirming Collier's testimony. And the Andromedans are the main extraterrestrial race most responsible for crop circles. They're giving us messages. And he argues that the crop circles are intended to both inspire humans with the possibility of extraterrestrial communication. But there's a flip side to it. It's also done to warn negative extraterrestrials of the consequences for actions to control and manipulate humanity, which I think is I could see that being the dead sword, right? Or that double, you know, double speak, I guess we could say. So the Andromedan's chief activity appears to be facilitating decisions of the galactical community and in dealing with difficult problems such as the current Earth situation. They innovate strategies for resolving conflict, the education of the youth, and inspiring humanity with the possibilities of extraterrestrial contact. The global solutions they promote include assisting the growth of psychic crystal rainbow children, peace, education, exposing elite manipulation, promoting improved global governance, and diplomacy and conflict resolution. So we see that they have, again, played a major impact. And I think that there is going to be an incredible contact with them on a global scale. We talked about the entities in the predictions episode we did making themselves known. I think the Andromedans are one of those races. That there's going to be multiple races. And this is why I kind of left it general, because when I get these feelings, it'll be during an episode like this where we're talking about it. I also think it'll be the Syrians as well. Possibly the Palladians, I'm not sure, but the main focus is going to be the Syrians and Andromedans. They're going to make themselves known on a global level. Now, this isn't saying that humanity will try and fool people with holographic images displayed in the skies, right? So we have to be very, very sharp in these times. Our discernment has to be honed in. This is why we have to meditate. This is why we have to reach out to those extraterrestrial bodies and sort of form a somewhat of a contact now. And using your consciousness, it's you can make phone calls across the galaxies. You know, most people realize that, but it really works like that. You have to be careful though. You have to guard yourself when doing that because you never know what's going to come through. But if you focus on a specific entity, let's say the Andromedans, and you say to yourself, I only want to talk to those that are of service to others, and you start to guide your meditation, you can work towards that and really make something different and create that contact. Like, to talk about how I got my contact. So it's when I was me and Omar were doing the disclosure event a while back. It's probably about a year and a half ago now. And I had met so many people who have had contact, right? You know, and I was always thinking to myself, how come I never got that contact? How come I never received that? And it's kind of selfish if you think about it now. Like, how come I'm not special like they are? Which is, my brain does funny things sometimes. Everybody has their moments, but it manifested in a way that I didn't I almost didn't realize it was happening that way, right? So another thing I always wanted to do was to my wife, she listens to my shows and I love her so much and she's the best woman I've ever met and the best person I've ever met. Um and I always say to myself, I really want her to be involved in the community. So when we got the first contact, it wasn't all of but a ship flying across the stars. You looked like a star moving, but then it flashed in a way that was definitely not a star. She was with me, and we were outside. We were smoking a cigarette, and I believe that I manifested that because I always wanted her to see something that would sort of thrust her into the community, right? But I also thought to myself, I really wanted to have my contact too. And it's not a common occurrence that two people see the same thing at the same time. It's a group contact at that point, right? So we checked a lot of boxes in that moment. And that same feeling that I got while seeing it with her, I just saw it 5 minutes before the show started. So what kind of signal is that? And I want you guys to answer it in the chat. What kind of signal do you think that is? Is that a hey, you shouldn't really be talking about this stuff, or hey, you should keep going, right? I see it as a hey, keep going. Because when we did the disclosure event, it came 2 weeks to the day before that event. And then I saw it while in Texas 2 weeks after the event, sort of giving me like, they gave me like the thumbs up, the go ahead. And then afterwards, when it was all said and done, they gave me the head nod as they drove by. And we're like, "Yep, good job." And that was a really great event. It was a really great event. So that's all I have on the Andromedans today. Um, Again, we're working on a couple of interviews with people. I think we're going to be doing a panel discussion soon too. I think I miss having a real good panel discussion, right? And it's been quite a while. So I think I'm going to put one of those together, and we're going to get a lot of different perspectives. I really want to have Vivian back on too, and we'll talk about the Octurians, which is going to be incredible. I may have her come. I'm going to try and have her back for the episode with the about the Octurians, because she would know better than any of us, right? So, what did y'all think? I mean, this was fun. I liked the Andromedans. I got a good feeling about talking about them, and basically, having somewhat of like a moment while reading some of this, like, wow, I really do think that they're out there. So I we have a question from Prince, and it says, question, what are your thoughts on the secret space program? Will you ever do a show on that? I we've done shows on it. I've actually interviewed Penny Bradley, who's amazing, and I think that there is something that is happening with off-world, you know, terrestrial off-world operations, if that makes sense. And I think it has to do with the special access programs. And I think that there is a lot more than we know, right? And that information is slowly coming out with whistleblowers like Laura Eisenhower and a lot of others, and how there's also those who have come out and now had to basically get subpoenaed and talk in front of grand juries, and we find out that they're absolutely just using information as that's a figment of their imagination to spoil the information going out about the actual contactees of the secret space program. And we all know who that is. I don't have to say names, but under oath had to admit that. And that's pretty wild. That's pretty wild, but not in a good way wild. That's a bad way wild, right? So, you know, I do believe in the secret space program. I do. And I've known quite a few people who have real issues now in life because of what they've gone through with being in that secret space program, and what it's done to their bodies and their minds, and the fractalization and the altars. And we've also interviewed Marina Sarin, and she is one of those people as well. Eric J. Hecker is one of those people. We've got a lot of friends that really really are about the truth because of those experiences, and I think it's important to applaud them for coming forward, because they could have easily taken all of that pain and hardship and just kept it to themselves. But they know the essence of what we're doing, and they know the essence of what it means to be a truth seeker, right? So I would almost iterate to everybody that you are all truth seekers, and we all have a duty to bring forward information and let others, you know, digest it. And I think that everybody should have a live stream or their own show of some sort and put information out. And I think that the world will be a lot better place when we do that. And I think that seeing all these different ideas and all of these different people come forward with their own information, it, I think it's going to be an absolutely beautiful thing. A paradigm shifting completely, completely. So great question, Prince. Always with the great questions in there. And We got a very nice donation last week. The person who donated, you know who you are. We really appreciate it. All of that money goes to helping the broadcast and building and building and building and building. My ultimate goal is to make information available at your fingertips, not in the way that Google does, but in the way that it's kind of focused or hyper focused on, you know, what we do here. So anyway, I'm rambling now. And I'm going to go eat some dinner. I'm going to have a cup of coffee. I'm going to get to sleep because work calls again early tomorrow. But we're going to be working on a few things. Thursday, we're probably going to be going live again. Today is Tuesday, so we'll take tomorrow off. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? Maybe we'll pre-record something in the back and then drop something on Friday. Yeah, that's pretty much all we got tonight. So thank you everybody for joining us. Love you all. I see Omar's out there. Thank you, brother. I love you. I know you had to cut your hair off recently. I just want to tell you, you look fantastic. You looked fantastic before, but you really look fantastic now. It'll grow back too. No worries. So with that being said, my name is Rob Yox. We just spoke about the Andromedans, and this has been Full Spectrum Universe. I hope this broadcast finds you with love and abundance. And, I love all of you. And I'm with all of you always. So, hopefully that carries you through the day and we'll all be together soon. So thank you very much. And I hope everybody has a great night.